Doctor's warning: if you're 70 or 80 and still masturbate, I'm sorry to tell you 8 things. Have you ever wondered how aging affects your sexual health and desires? It's a topic that many people in their 70s and 80s find themselves thinking about, yet it often remains surrounded by stigma and silence. But let's be clear, your sexuality doesn't expire with age. In fact, maintaining a healthy relationship with intimacy and pleasure is a key part of overall well-being. However, as we grow older, our bodies change, and what once felt effortless might now require a new approach, a deeper understanding, and a little adaptation. But here's the good news: pleasure and intimacy don't have to fade. By understanding these changes, you can continue to enjoy a fulfilling and satisfying experience at any stage of life. In today's discussion, we'll uncover 8 crucial insights that every older adult should know about sexual health, self-pleasure, and overall well-being. We'll talk about the physical transformations that occur with aging, the potential health risks to be aware of, the emotional impact of intimacy, and practical strategies to maintain comfort and enjoyment. This is not just about sexual health, it's about embracing confidence, self-respect, and quality of life. So, stay with me until the end, because I'll be sharing expert-backed tips on how to adapt to these changes, explore new methods to enhance pleasure, and ensure you continue to live an empowered and satisfying life. But before we dive in, take a moment to support this channel, like this video, and subscribe to stay informed on important topics about aging, health, and well-being. Your support allows us to continue creating valuable content for you. Now, let's get started. 1. How aging affects the body. Many people assume that intimacy fades with age, but what if I told you that's completely wrong? It's a belief that has caused countless seniors to feel like they've lost a part of themselves. But here's the truth. While your body changes, your ability to experience pleasure never disappears. Instead, it transforms, just like every other part of aging. The key is understanding and adapting to these changes rather than resisting them. So, what really happens to your body as you get older, and how can you maintain a satisfying and fulfilling intimate life? Let's start with the science. According to a 2023 study from the Mayo Clinic, testosterone and estrogen levels naturally decline by 1–2% per year after the age of 50. Over time, this gradual change leads to shifts in libido, arousal, and physical response. But it doesn't mean the end of intimacy. For men, lower testosterone levels can result in reduced sensitivity, longer arousal times, and occasional erectile challenges. For women, declining estrogen levels can lead to decreased natural lubrication, thinning of vaginal tissues, and fluctuations in arousal. But here's what most people don't realize. These changes don't eliminate desire, they just require a different approach. In fact, studies show that many seniors experience deeper emotional and physical connections when they embrace these shifts rather than fear them. Now, let's talk about what this actually looks like in real life. Walter, a 75-year-old retired teacher, once believed that intimacy was only for the young. He had been married for over 45 years, sharing love and companionship with his wife. But when she passed away, he felt as if that part of his life had vanished. Months went by, and Walter found himself avoiding mirrors, reluctant to acknowledge the man staring back at him. His body didn't look or feel the same as it once did. His hands, once steady and strong, now trembled slightly with age. His energy had shifted, and the thought of intimacy felt foreign, even impossible. One evening, while flipping through an old photo album, he stumbled upon a picture of himself and his wife dancing on their wedding night. He remembered the laughter, the warmth, the effortless closeness they once shared. For the first time in a long time, he felt the stirrings of something familiar, not just desire, but the longing for connection. But then doubt crept in. Am I too old for this? Does my body even work the same way anymore? The next morning, Walter did something different. He researched. He came across an article about aging and intimacy, explaining that his body wasn't shutting down, it was adapting. That was the moment everything changed. Instead of grieving his past self, Walter started working with his body instead of against it. He began light stretching and movement exercises to improve blood circulation. He experimented with new relaxation techniques to ease stress and anxiety. He reintroduced self-touch in a way that felt comfortable and natural. So long but surely his confidence returned. He realized that pleasure wasn't something he had lost, it was something that had evolved. Walter's story isn't unique. So many people believe that intimacy belongs only to the young, but that's simply not true. Your body may be different, but your capacity for pleasure remains intact. You just need to approach it differently. Here's what you need to remember. Your body is not broken, it's changing. Accept these changes and adapt. Pleasure evolves, sometimes slowing down, using different techniques, or focusing on new sensations can enhance the experience. Confidence matters more than physicality. The more comfortable you feel with your body, the more enjoyable intimacy becomes. Now, let me ask you, have you ever felt disconnected from your body as you've aged? Have you, like Walter, ever questioned whether parts of yourself were meant to fade away? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your experiences matter, and sharing your journey might help someone else on their own path. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because there's so much more to explore when it comes to aging, intimacy, and well-being, because remember, pleasure doesn't end with age. It evolves, just like you. 2. Potential health risks. Most people think of intimacy as a source of pleasure and connection, and it absolutely is. But what if I told you that ignoring certain warning signs could put your health at risk? As we age, our bodies don't react the same way they did at 30 or 40. What once felt effortless might now require a little more awareness and caution. But here's the good news. Understanding the risks means you can take steps to enjoy intimacy safely. In fact, with a few simple adjustments, you can continue to enjoy pleasure without unnecessary health concerns. Let's start with the science. According to a Harvard Medical School report, overexertion during sexual activity can raise heart rate and blood pressure, potentially leading to cardiovascular strain in individuals with pre-existing conditions. For seniors, this is especially important because aging naturally affects the cardiovascular system. A study from the Mayo Clinic further supports this, revealing that 60% of adults over 70 experience some form of cardiovascular change, including fluctuations in heart rate and blood pressure. Men with a history of heart disease are at a 27% higher risk of experiencing irregular heart rhythms during intense physical activity, including sex. Women post-menopause may experience increased blood vessel stiffness, making blood circulation less efficient. Now, does this mean you should stop enjoying intimacy? Absolutely not. But it does mean that paying attention to your body's signals is crucial. And that brings us to Harold's story. Harold, a 78-year-old retired mechanic, had always been an active man. He prided himself on never letting age slow him down, not at work, not in life, and certainly not in the bedroom. One evening, as he was unwinding at home, he decided to take a moment for himself, a simple act of self-pleasure that he had enjoyed for decades. But this time, something felt different. A few minutes in, Harold noticed a tightness in his chest, followed by shortness of breath. His heart pounded harder than usual, and for the first time he felt a flicker of fear. Was it just excitement? Or was something actually wrong? Instead of stopping, Harold pushed through it, convincing himself it was nothing. He told himself, "I'm fine, I just need to relax." But later that night, the discomfort returned, this time while he was simply walking to the kitchen. That's when it hit him. Maybe this wasn't something he should ignore. The next day, he scheduled an appointment with his doctor. After running a few tests, the doctor confirmed that Harold had mild hypertension, and his body was working harder than usual during moments of exertion. But instead of telling Harold to avoid intimacy altogether, his doctor gave him a new plan. Pace himself, shorter sessions, slower movements, practice deep breathing techniques to maintain heart rate control, monitor his body's signals. If he ever felt lightheaded, he would pause and let himself recover. Harold followed this advice, and within weeks, he felt more in control of his body. Instead of feeling like he had to choose between pleasure and safety, he realized he could have both, as long as he listened to his body's needs. Harold's experience is a reminder that intimacy should never come at the cost of your health. While sex and self-pleasure are natural and beneficial, they should always be approached with awareness, especially as you age. Here's what you can do to ensure you stay safe. Pay attention to warning signs. If you experience dizziness, chest tightness, or shortness of breath, stop and assess. Adjust your pace. There's no rush. Slowing down can enhance pleasure and reduce strain. Consult your doctor if you have a history of heart disease, high blood pressure, or other conditions. Ask about safe practices that fit your health needs. Now, let me ask you, have you ever felt like your body was reacting differently than before? Have you ever experienced a moment where you thought, maybe I should slow down? Drop a comment below, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your experience matters and your insights might help someone else who's feeling the same way. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because taking care of yourself is the first step toward living fully and enjoying every moment. Your body is talking. The question is, are you listening? 3. Mental and emotional well-being. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, maybe I'm too old to care about intimacy? If so, you're not alone. Many older adults believe that desire has an expiration date, that intimacy is something reserved for the young. But what if I told you that this belief is not only false but also harmful to your emotional and mental well-being? Here's the truth. Intimacy, connection, and self-pleasure are not just about physical desire, they are deeply tied to mental and emotional health. Studies have shown that maintaining intimacy, whether with a partner or through self-pleasure, can significantly improve quality of life, reduce stress, and even alleviate symptoms of depression. Yet, so many seniors still struggle with feelings of guilt, shame, or embarrassment when it comes to their own needs. The question is, where do these feelings come from? And more importantly, how do we move past them? Let's start with the science. A haiku to research from the National Institute on Aging: regular intimacy and self-pleasure can reduce stress and anxiety by releasing endorphins and oxytocin, hormones that promote relaxation and well-being, improve sleep quality by helping the body release tension and regulate melatonin levels, alleviate symptoms of depression by boosting serotonin, the neurotransmitter responsible for happiness and emotional stability. Additionally, a Mayo Clinic study found that older adults who remained sexually active reported higher self-esteem, stronger emotional resilience, and a greater sense of life satisfaction compared to those who suppressed their desires due to social stigma. Yet, despite this overwhelming evidence, many seniors still feel like they must suppress their desires out of fear of judgment. This brings us to Eleanor's story. Eleanor, 82, had spent most of her life believing that intimacy was something she had outgrown. She had been married for 50 years, raised a family, and done everything society told her was right. After her husband passed away, she assumed that part of her life was over. She convinced herself that intimacy belonged to the past, to youth, to people who still had something to prove. For years, she ignored the quiet longing inside her, dismissing it as nostalgia, but deep down, she missed feeling connected, alive, and in tune with herself. One afternoon, over coffee with an old friend, the conversation took an unexpected turn. "Do you ever miss it?" her friend asked, stirring her tea. Eleanor hesitated. "Miss what?" her friend smiled knowingly. "That part of yourself, the part that used to feel desired, the part that used to want." Eleanor felt her heart race. No one had ever asked her that before. At first, she laughed it off. "That's for younger people, isn't it?" she said. But her friend shook her head. "No, Eleanor, that's for living people." The words hit her like a wave. That night, Eleanor sat alone in her room, staring at her reflection. She had spent years believing that intimacy was a closed chapter, that her desires were something to be buried. But now, she wasn't so sure. For the first time in decades, she gave herself permission to explore what she had been missing. She allowed herself to reconnect with her body, to appreciate the touch of her own hands, to embrace the fact that desire was not something to be ashamed of, it was something to honor. That single moment changed everything. Eleanor's story is a powerful reminder that intimacy is not just about sex, it's about self-acceptance, confidence, and emotional connection. Guilt and shame serve no purpose when it comes to your happiness. Science tells us that embracing intimacy can lead to better mental health, better sleep, and a greater sense of confidence and fulfillment. Here's what you can do today to reclaim this part of yourself. Let go of outdated beliefs. Desire does not belong to youth, it belongs to you. Give yourself permission to explore what makes you feel connected and alive. Understand that intimacy is self-care, whether with a partner or by yourself. Now, let me ask you, have you ever felt guilty about wanting intimacy as you age? Have you, like Eleanor, ever questioned whether you still have the right to desire? Drop a comment below, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your experiences matter, and your story might help someone else finally let go of their own shame. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because breaking free from outdated beliefs is the first step toward embracing the full, beautiful life you deserve. The question is, are you ready to embrace it? 4. Social isolation and loneliness. Have you ever felt like the world is moving on without you, like no one really sees you anymore? It's a feeling that many older adults experience, especially after losing a spouse, retiring from work, or seeing their social circles shrink. But what if I told you that loneliness is not just an emotional struggle, it's a physical one too? Research shows that chronic loneliness can directly impact your sexual health, libido, and overall well-being. It's a silent threat that most people never talk about, yet it's affecting millions of seniors worldwide. So what exactly happens to your body when loneliness sets in? And more importantly, how can you fight back and reclaim your vitality? Let's start with the science. According to a University of California study, loneliness increases cortisol levels, which in turn lowers libido and weakens overall health. Cortisol, often referred to as the stress hormone, plays a vital role in regulating your body's response to emotional and physical stress. However, when cortisol levels stay elevated for too long, it can lead to reduced sexual desire and function. High cortisol disrupts testosterone and estrogen levels, weakened immune system, leading to frequent illnesses and slower recovery times, increased risk of heart disease and high blood pressure, both of which can make intimacy more challenging, higher rates of depression and anxiety, which further suppress the body's ability to experience pleasure and connection. A Mayo Clinic study supports this, revealing that seniors who remain socially engaged experience better mental clarity, stronger heart health, and healthier libido compared to those who live in isolation. The truth is, human connection isn't just a luxury, it's a biological necessity. And that brings us to George's story. At 76, George felt invisible. After his wife passed away, his once busy house turned quiet. His children, though loving, had lives of their own. His social outings became less frequent, and over time he stopped reaching out altogether. At first, he convinced himself he was just adjusting to life alone, but as the months passed, he noticed something unsettling. His energy was lower, his motivation was gone, and even his desire for intimacy had faded. One evening, as he sat in his dimly lit living room, he realized something heartbreaking. It had been 3 days since he had spoken to another person. The silence was deafening that night. George found himself scrolling through his phone, looking at old photos of himself and his wife. He remembered the laughter, the shared moments, the simple joy of just being seen. That's when he made a decision. He needed to change something. The next day he forced himself to do something different. He walked into a senior activity center, unsure of what to expect. At first he felt out of place. But then, a woman named Linda sat beside him in an art class and made a joke about his terrible brushstrokes. They laughed, and for the first time in months, George felt something shift inside him. As the weeks passed, George became more active, more social, and more confident. He found himself wanting to engage with life again, and yes, even feeling a renewed sense of intimacy, because here's the thing, connection isn't just about romance, it's about being seen, heard, and valued. George's story is proof that loneliness doesn't just affect the mind, it affects the body. When we lose connection, we don't just feel invisible, we start to lose parts of ourselves that make life rich and fulfilling. The good news? You have the power to change that. Here's how you can start today. Engage in social activities. Whether it's a book club, exercise class, or community gathering, human interaction is essential for health. Reach out to old friends or family members. Sometimes all it takes is one phone call to rekindle a connection. Try new experiences. Learning something new, like George's art class, can spark excitement and confidence in unexpected ways. Now, let me ask you, have you ever felt like George? Have you ever found yourself slipping into isolation without realizing it? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your story. Your experience might be the encouragement someone else needs to take that first step toward connection. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because life is too short to spend it feeling invisible. The world is still waiting for you. Are you ready to step back into it? 5. The importance of open communication. Have you ever felt close to someone but at the same time miles apart? Many couples in long-term relationships reach a point where intimacy becomes routine, conversations grow shorter, and unspoken feelings create an invisible wall between them. For many older couples, this distance is not because of a lack of love, but because of a lack of communication. Yet studies show that couples over 70 who openly discuss their desires and needs experience higher relationship satisfaction, stronger emotional bonds, and better physical well-being. So why is it so hard to talk about intimacy? And how can one simple conversation reignite a connection that feels lost? Let's start with the science. According to a Mayo Clinic study, open communication about intimacy has a direct impact on relationship longevity and physical health. Couples who discuss their needs experience higher levels of emotional closeness, which in turn improves physical intimacy, reduced stress and anxiety leading to better sleep and overall health, stronger sense of self-esteem and confidence, particularly as the body changes with age. Yet, many older adults struggle to bring up the topic of intimacy, whether due to discomfort, fear of rejection, or simply believing that things are fine the way they are. But here's the truth: intimacy isn't just about physical touch, it's about emotional connection. And that brings us to James and Evelyn's story. James and Evelyn had been married for 50 years. They had built a life together, raised children, weathered financial hardships, and supported each other through loss and joy. But somewhere along the way, they stopped really talking. Their daily conversations were about the same routine topics: what was for dinner, what their son had called about, when their next doctor's appointment was. They still loved each other deeply, but the spark that once made their relationship feel special had dimmed. One evening, as they sat in their quiet living room, Evelyn put down her book, looked at James, and said something he didn't expect. "I miss us." James looked up, confused. "What do you mean?" Evelyn hesitated, then took a deep breath. "I miss the way we used to talk. I miss feeling close to you. I know we're older now, and maybe we don't think about these things as much, but don't you ever miss it?" James sat in silence for a moment. The truth was, he had missed it too. But he had convinced himself that this was just how things were now, that romance, passion, and even deep conversations belonged to their younger years. That night, instead of turning on the TV as usual, they talked. Really talked. About what they had been feeling, about what had changed, and about what they both wanted moving forward. The result? They rediscovered each other. Over the next few weeks, small but meaningful changes took place. They started holding hands again while watching TV. They made time for slow, meaningful conversations instead of only talking about daily tasks. They brought intimacy back into their lives, not just physically but emotionally. And it all started with one simple, honest conversation. James and Evelyn's story proves that talking about intimacy is just as important as experiencing it. If you've ever felt emotionally distant from your partner, it's not too late to rebuild that connection. It starts with a simple, honest conversation. Here's how you can begin. Choose a comfortable moment. Bring up the conversation in a relaxed setting, not during an argument or stressful moment. Use I statements instead of saying, "You never talk to me anymore." Say, "I miss the way we used to talk." Be open-minded and listen sometimes. The other person is feeling the same way but doesn't know how to express it. Now, let me ask you, have you ever felt distant from your partner but didn't know how to talk about it? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your story. Your experience might give someone else the courage to start their own conversation. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because sometimes all it takes is a few honest words to change everything. Are you ready to start the conversation? 6. Exploring new techniques. What happens when your body no longer responds the way it used to? For many older adults, intimacy becomes a source of frustration instead of fulfillment, because what once felt effortless may now require new approaches. But here's the truth. Pleasure doesn't have to disappear. It just has to evolve. Your body may change, but your ability to experience joy, connection, and satisfaction remains. The key? Learning new ways to explore intimacy that work with your body instead of against it. So how do you adapt? And what techniques can help you rediscover pleasure, even if traditional methods no longer feel the same? Let's start with the science. Alternative forms of intimacy such as sexual addiction education, massage, and relaxation techniques can enhance pleasure as the body changes. A Mayo Clinic study further confirms that seniors who engage in mindful touch techniques experience higher levels of satisfaction and emotional connection. Incorporating relaxation methods like deep breathing and slow movement can reduce discomfort and enhance arousal. Exploring new forms of physical connection like sensory play, extended foreplay, and guided touch can lead to more fulfilling intimate experiences. The science is clear. Adapting to your body's changes can help you continue enjoying intimacy at any age. But how do these techniques look in real life? That brings us to Margaret's story. Margaret, 79, had always understood the power of touch. As a classically trained pianist, her fingers once glided effortlessly over the keys, bringing music to life. But over the years, arthritis stole that ease from her hands. The same fluidity she once had in her playing began to disappear from other parts of her life, including intimacy. She and her husband Henry had always shared a deep emotional and physical bond, but as her body changed, she found herself pulling away from intimacy. Unsure of how to navigate these new challenges one night, after another frustrating attempt to reconnect, she sighed and whispered, "I just don't feel like myself anymore." Henry took her hand, the same hand that had once played Mozart and Chopin so effortlessly, and said, "Then let's find a new way." That night, instead of trying to force what once was, they experimented with something new. Instead of traditional intimacy, they focused on slow, sensual touch, letting their hands rediscover each other. Margaret found that massage techniques relieved tension in her joints, making movement more comfortable. Henry introduced guided breathing exercises which helped her body relax and respond more naturally. Over time, they learned that sensory play, gentle caresses, and new positioning methods allowed them to maintain their connection without pain or frustration. It wasn't about recreating the past, it was about embracing the present. And in that moment, Margaret realized something powerful. Pleasure is not about how your body used to work, it's about how you choose to experience it now. Margaret's story is proof that your body's changes do not mean the end of intimacy. If traditional methods no longer feel the same, exploring new approaches can open doors to deeper connection and fulfillment. If you've ever felt like your body isn't working the way it used to, here's what you can do. Experiment with sensory stimulation. Exploring different textures, temperatures, and touch techniques can bring back excitement. Try massage and relaxation methods. Gentle massages can ease tension, improve circulation, and enhance responsiveness. Adjust your approach to intimacy. Slow movements, different positions, or guided touch exercises can make all the difference. Now let me ask you, have you ever felt disconnected from your body? Have you ever hesitated to explore intimacy because things didn't feel the same? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your story might be the encouragement someone else needs to rediscover their own joy. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because your journey to self-discovery and pleasure never has to end. The question is, are you ready to explore what's possible? 7. Seeking professional advice. How many times have you hesitated before reaching out for help? Maybe you thought, this is just part of aging, or it's too embarrassing to talk about. For many older adults, seeking advice about intimacy feels uncomfortable, even though it shouldn't. Here's the truth. Intimacy and sexual health are just as important as any other part of your well-being. Yet many seniors avoid discussing it with a doctor or professional out of fear, embarrassment, or the belief that nothing can be done. But what if I told you that one simple conversation could change everything? Let's start with the science. According to the Cleveland Clinic, sexual health specialists can provide valuable guidance for older adults experiencing changes in intimacy. Many common concerns, including decreased libido, erectile difficulties, vaginal dryness, or emotional disconnect, are treatable with the right support. A Mayo Clinic report further reveals that older adults who seek professional advice about intimacy report higher relationship satisfaction and mental well-being. Common age changes like hormonal fluctuations and circulation issues can often be managed with minor medical or lifestyle adjustments. Avoiding conversations about intimacy can lead to unnecessary anxiety, lower self-esteem, and even strained relationships. The truth is, sexual health is health. And that brings us to Thomas's story. Thomas was a proud 80-year-old veteran. He had spent his life solving problems, fixing things, and taking care of others. He had never been the type of man to ask for help, but something had changed. Over the past year, intimacy with his wife had become different, not non-existent but strained. He noticed himself feeling disconnected, struggling with physical responses that once came naturally. At first, he told himself it was just part of aging. "It's normal at my age," he muttered to himself. But deep down, he missed the closeness he and his wife once shared. He missed feeling like himself. One evening, after another frustrating night of unspoken tension, his wife placed a gentle hand over his, "I miss you," she whispered. That moment stuck with him. The next morning, for the first time in his life, he did something unexpected. He made an appointment with his doctor. Sitting in the office, he felt ridiculous. He nearly walked out before his name was called. But when he finally spoke, the doctor simply nodded and said, "Thomas, this is more common than you think. Let's talk about your options." That single conversation changed everything. His doctor explained that his body wasn't failing, it was just adjusting. With some minor changes, including adjusting medications, focusing on circulation-boosting exercises, and learning new techniques to enhance physical connection, he felt a shift. Within weeks, he noticed a difference. Not just physically, but emotionally. He felt like himself again. He and his wife, after years of quietly avoiding the subject, began talking openly about their intimacy, laughing, reconnecting, and rediscovering each other in new ways. And to think, he almost let pride stop him from experiencing this. Thomas's story is proof that there is nothing weak about seeking advice. In fact, taking action is one of the strongest things you can do for yourself and your relationship. If you've ever hesitated to talk to a doctor, remember this: sexual health is just as important as any other part of your well-being. If you wouldn't ignore heart problems or joint pain, why ignore this? There are real solutions available. Many intimacy challenges have simple medical or lifestyle adjustments that can help. Communication is key. The sooner you talk about it with a doctor or your partner, the sooner you can rediscover connection and confidence. Now, let me ask you, have you ever hesitated to ask for help because you thought you should figure it out on your own? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to take that first step. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because no one should have to navigate these changes alone. The question is, are you ready to have the conversation? 8. Embracing your sexuality with confidence. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like you barely recognized the person staring back? As we age, our bodies change, our features shift, and sometimes so does our confidence. It's easy to fall into the belief that intimacy is reserved for the young, the attractive, the flawless. But what if I told you that confidence, not youth, is the real key to desire and fulfillment? Many older adults struggle with body image, believing they are past their prime, or that intimacy is no longer for them. But research tells a different story, one that proves self-acceptance is the greatest asset you can have. So, how does embracing your sexuality change everything, and what happens when you finally see yourself in a new light? Let's start with the science. A study from Johns Hopkins University found that self-confidence and body acceptance directly correlate with sexual satisfaction in older adults. Another report from the Mayo Clinic revealed that seniors who view their bodies positively report higher levels of intimacy and relationship satisfaction. Those who engage in self-care and personal expression experience greater confidence and a more fulfilling intimate life. Self-perception matters more than physical changes. Many seniors who embrace aging with confidence maintain active and satisfying relationships well into their later years. The takeaway? Your perception of yourself directly affects your ability to enjoy connection and pleasure. And that brings us to Sylvia's story. At 75, Sylvia had stopped seeing herself as desirable for most of her life. For most of her life, she had been a woman of presence. She wore bold colors, laughed freely, and never apologized for taking up space. But as the years passed, something changed. The compliments became less frequent. The world seemed to expect her to fade into the background, to swap her red dresses for muted grays, to accept that desire was for the young. And for a while she played along. One day, while shopping with her granddaughter, she saw it. A stunning red dress, the kind she used to wear when she felt like the best version of herself. She ran her fingers over the fabric, feeling a flicker of something familiar. "You should get it, Grandma," her granddaughter said. Sylvia shook her head. "What for? Where would I wear something like this?" Her granddaughter smiled. "Wherever you want." That night she stared at herself in the mirror for a long time. She thought about how she used to dance in the kitchen, how she once felt the thrill of a lingering touch, the warmth of her own skin against satin sheets. Those feelings hadn't disappeared, she had buried them under layers of doubt and expectation. So, she put on the dress. She wore it out to dinner, where the waiter called her Miss instead of Ma'am. She wore it to the park, where an old friend said she looked radiant. And later that night, when she was alone, she wore it just for herself. For the first time in years, she let herself feel beautiful, not because anyone else said so, but because she decided it was true. She lit candles, played her favorite music, and let her hands trace the soft curves of her body, a body that had carried her through every heartbreak and joy, every storm and sunshine, a body that still deserved to be loved, cherished, and touched, with kindness, with curiosity, with confidence. The next morning she woke up with a secret smile. She had rediscovered something precious, not youth, not beauty, but permission, permission to want, permission to feel, permission to embrace. Her self-desire and passion do not belong to the young, they belong to the living. Sylvia's story proves that sexuality is not about age, it's about mindset. The most attractive thing about you is how you see yourself. The moment you decide that you are worthy of love, of touch, of connection, everything changes. Here's how you can start embracing yourself today. Let go of the idea that intimacy is reserved for youth. It's for you, now, in this stage of life. Reconnect with what makes you feel good in your own skin. Whether it's fashion, music, or self-care, recognize that your body tells a story, and that story deserves to be celebrated, not hidden. Now, let me ask you, have you ever denied yourself something, pleasure, love, self-care, because you thought you were too old? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your story might be the encouragement someone else needs to reclaim their confidence. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because life is too short to spend another day doubting yourself. You are still here. You are still you. The only question is, are you ready to own it? Aging is not a loss, it's an evolution. Your body, your desires, and your confidence may shift, but they don't disappear. They grow, change, and take new forms. And the most powerful thing you can do? Embrace them. Whether it's through connection with a partner, moments of self-care, or simply allowing yourself to feel beautiful, wanted, and alive, intimacy belongs to you at any stage of life. So take that first step. Wear the dress, have the conversation, explore new ways to experience pleasure, because the only permission you need is your own. And if this message resonated with you, consider joining our community by subscribing. There's so much more to talk about, and your voice matters here. Until next time, take care of yourself, and don't forget you are still worthy of love, passion, and joy.